Hi guys, I'm Kristen.
I'm Kevin.
And we are a full-time married reselling couple. And we wanted to share a little bit about our story, just like how kind of reselling came about in our lives, when Kevin joined me, how he joined me, because I was the first one to find it and Kevin kind of followed me into the journey. So we just wanted to share a little bit about that story, and yeah, I guess we should just hop into it. So we got married in 2011. I was a nanny. I was fresh out of college and I went to go nanny for a family, and during that time I was nannying, we didn't have a lot of money, and so I was thrifting a lot of my own personal wardrobe. I was in a thrift store and I found like a bunch of $1 finds. And I just remember like getting stuff for myself, but then also finding things that were the wrong size for me. And so I ended up thinking to myself, well, this is $1, and I know that there are people out there who would pay more than $1 for this item. So I had never heard of reselling. I had never, I didn't know anybody who resold. I had never found any communities around it or anything like that. I literally just saw an item for $1, knew it was worth more than $1, and grabbed it along with a couple other finds. I put those finds on eBay, and I put them on auction starting at $1. I thought if I make even any profit, if I just make my money back, then maybe that will be proof that somebody will buy something from me on eBay. So I think I made like 10 bucks or something from that first haul on eBay, but it was enough for me to get excited about it and want to go back and get more. And so Kevin, you would come with me to the thrift store, like when I was shopping for myself, and you would look for stuff for yourself, I think, too. Yeah,
I was a pretty typical I guess husband or boyfriend or fiance or whatever, whenever all this started, kind of hanging in the corner. I would go look through the men's stuff maybe for a moment, or try to look through the vintage stuff, just whatever, but not know what I was doing. And then get a little frustrated and kind of hang out in the corner, bored playing on my phone. And not until one of her bigger first flips where she paid $1 for something and then maybe made 40 or 50 or something, where I realized that there's potential in this. I never expected a career or anything. I just thought there could be some fun money for going out on Saturday nights and having great meals and just that kind of stuff, some cash on the side. So once we started getting a little more into it and seeing those big profits, I at least started looking for brands. I'd maybe go through an aisle looking just for maybe an Anthropology brand.
That's right.
And that's kind of it, one at a time.
We started at Anthropology.
Yeah, we
definitely
started at Anthropology.
We went hard on Anthropology.
Memorized all of their labels.
Yep. And I definitely made the mistake early on of doing the whole this is Anthropology because people on eBay said it was, so I believed it was. So I know that that was something that I really had to refine, is actually learn what are the actual brands sold there, and that's where I started. I didn't do shoes for a long time. I didn't do bags for a long time. I was literally just seeking out Anthropology and Free People because that's primarily where I always wanted to shop. It was kind of expensive to shop there, so it also helped for myself too. But yeah, that's right. You learned all those Anthropology labels.
Yeah, I got them down
and you
pat.
hated sourcing. You hated it. I still don't think you love it, but that's fine.
It's too much pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. But yeah, so you were always really supportive of what I was doing. I always felt like I could tell him, I flipped this thing, I paid $1, and oh my gosh, I made this much on it. And you would always be really proud of me, be happy for me.
That's true. You
were always really gentle with me when if I ever had death piles, which is basically unlisted inventory. I would have a few tubs of that at a time. Luckily, we don't keep up with a death pile anymore. We learned our lesson there, but you were always really gentle with me in that learning experience. And I think that's kind of where you kind of stopped for years. You just were eventually I learned to go to the thrift store on my own because I knew you didn't enjoy sitting in the corner, or he would follow me around the store and he'd be like, so are you ready to go? Yeah. And I'm like, listen, I've got a couple more hours I could be here. So eventually I learned to go just do that myself, and it was fine. I did it for years by myself and enjoyed it just fine. And I think that there were a couple years in there where you weren't involved whatsoever. You just kind of let me do my thing. And Yeah, so fast forward to at the time you were working in corrections, then you moved over to real estate. So this is probably 2015, 2016 probably. I, at some point in there, took a break from eBay. I really didn't enjoy the eBay experience, but I still loved reselling. So for those few months to almost a year where I was in a hiatus, I was still thinking about the finds that were out there in the city that I was just ignoring because I just didn't want to go back to eBay. And so January 2017 is when, and you had been doing real estate maybe for a little bit at that point, or did you start?
Yeah,
it doesn't around
5
there.
months.
Yeah, around there is when he started real estate. Is right around when I started on Poshmark, and so Poshmark was something that I sought out because I really missed reselling, the actual aspect of hunting and selling. That's all I wanted to do, and so I researched and I learned all about all of the different platforms that were available. Mercari, Tradesy, Poshmark were the big ones. I considered going back to eBay for a little bit, but after my research, I thought, you know, Poshmark seems good. When I was selling on eBay, I remember checking comps and finding Poshmark a lot in the comps. So I knew it was a thing that had been around for a little bit. And so I created an account and I went full steam ahead on reselling again. I started from scratch. I didn't have any inventory at all in 2017 when I started back on Poshmark. So we had to start all over.
And it was welcome too, because the extra cash from the eBay days mattered. I mean, it did give us some luxuries that we had to go without or had to find some other way to pay for. So when it was time to get back into it, it was kind of exciting.
Yeah, for sure.
I was ready for it and felt a little more knowledgeable at that time. I still wasn't into it at all, but I kind of knew more what to expect when it was time for her to go full into it. So I was kind of ready when Poshmark came along.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I was a nanny only for a tiny bit after I started back in 2013. I jumped to I jumped to a work from home job doing customer support and sales. And then I jumped into a tech startup after that. And that is when I started Poshmark back up. I think I definitely was already at the tech startup that I was working for almost 4 years. So Kevin was in real estate. I was doing the tech startup thing here from home. And then we realized that like I needed help. Like I was growing and my job was demanding, Kevin's job was demanding, but I realized that I couldn't grow unless I had Kevin's help on basic things.
And it started off with trading, like, hey, you could play some video games. I mean, she's always good about that. But it was sort of a, hey, if you share the closet tonight, like, you can do whatever you want. Like, we'll watch whatever you want, play whatever you want, go see a movie. I
definitely tried to entice him with like things that I knew he loved. And I was like, I literally won't say anything if you want to do this. And so, yeah, that's right. And I
moved on to then shipping and very slowly.
I think was sharing the closet the first thing you did for me. I forgot about that. I mean, it makes sense. So I would tell him, click here, click here. I mean, it's simple to share your closet. And he did that for me. Yeah, that's right. I totally forgot about that. And then pretty quickly after that, I was like, well, I need some help shipping. And at that time, I didn't have any kind of an inventory system. I literally just had piles of clothes just in the closet.
And it very quickly became, I need help, to you are shipping now.
That's true. Probably within a week. I was like, hey, could you like package a couple items for me? And I think within a week it was like...
Once she understood that I knew what I was doing, see ya.
And we learned really quickly that we needed an inventory system because Kevin, I think there was a couple times that either you or I were mixing things up.
Yeah, it happens.
Like, especially if he's not the one listing or sourcing or having any interaction with the item, it's very easy for you to, I think, have seen like, oh, a black dress from Reformation, and then you package the wrong black dress from Reformation.
Especially in a tub of black dresses.
Right.
Who knows?
Right. So pretty quickly, Kevin established an inventory system for us. And I think we were inspired. I remember we went to YouTube to like figure out how do people inventory for Poshmark. And I'm pretty sure it was Jenna from Empty Hangers inventory solution that inspired us to like be like, okay, we can totally do this. We can totally tackle this. And so we did. You mostly set that up, the inventory system.
Yeah, that's, my mind is very compartmentalized. So that's how I want an office to be and a warehouse to be and everything like that. So when I was just helping, it wasn't that big of a deal just having to root around like loose clothing and loose shoes. But once it was time to get serious with it, holy cow, just having a number assigned or knowing, like having a brand of a shoe visible clearly somewhere, just the small things make shipping 3, 4, 5 times quicker.
Totally.
And in the grand scheme of things, that's what we want. We want to save time because we only have so much of it. So yeah, you guys, if you don't have an inventory system put into place, just do it now. The longer you wait,
the harder it's going to be to organize
harder
that, for sure. Yeah, and I think that you brought an element to, like, right away when he started helping me, he brought an element of organization that I didn't have. I can be kind of a loose cannon, and like you said, you're much more organized than I am. So he was able to come in and swoop in and do that. And I think we quickly learned in that process that Kevin really countered me in really nice ways, or complimented me in really nice ways that I really needed in order to be able to run this successfully. And pretty shortly after that, I would say a few months after that, you lost your job in real estate. And that happened last year, so maybe July 2018. That sounds right. Yeah. Like July 2018, July 2019. I'm sorry, July or August 2018. That's what I'm trying to say. And at that time, I was still working for the tech startup. I was making enough money where it's like, why don't you try doing this full time with me? It's there wasn't really a huge risk to it, just because I was making enough of my job where it's like we could take that risk and we could just see if it worked. And so Kevin started working from home and with me, because I was working from home too. Yeah. And we quickly learned, like, whoa, this is like super fun to work together. Even though we weren't working on the same thing, I was working at my job and Kevin was working on the reselling side of things. It was really exciting, I feel like, to have both of us in the same space, and we really enjoyed each other's company. And then fast forward to December 2018, I lost my job as well. Our company went under and shut down, and for a brief second I was like, well, I better go find something similar to that and go make money. But then I think we just decided, well, what if I didn't? Yeah, so both times of us going full-time was less about, like, we could sit here and be like, well, here's how you go full-time and here are the numbers you need to have. But for us, we are risk takers by nature. Even somebody who's like more organized like you are, you're definitely a risk taker. And so both of us were like, let's just try it. So we're almost about 8 months in to reselling together full-time. And I would say it has been the most fun. Yeah. And now when we're sourcing, Kevin is a beast. He's really good at it. Yes, and I still don't think you love it.
No, it's not, the shopping and all that is not my passion like it is for Kristen, but it beats being anywhere else. It's true. Working for somebody else.
I would just say in general, I don't feel like reselling is your passion. But at the same time, I feel like what sold you on reselling was getting to work with me full-time from home. Yeah, like both that of is our
passion is working together.
Yeah, and I think that's where like our passion really lays, is like the passion lays in working together and being home together and kind of owning our lives and our space. And I think we've just been really invigorated by that. So like we're starting a clothing line, and because I just don't feel like reselling is the end goal and the end all be all. It's not the only thing that makes me happy. It's something that I'm really glad I found passion in early, but I think that there's like an underlying dream in there that's not reselling focused, but reselling is the linchpin to get us there and is giving us what that dream is right now. Yeah. And is giving us the present and the future that I think that we want.
And it's Does that sound right? Yeah, it's just been wonderful. If you don't already know us, you can already tell that Kristen is much more vocal and the leader and things like that. And we just complement each other so well because I am chill and she is excited about everything. And it just works out that we can kind of always be around each other and chill. And we bicker and things happen. Like, that's life. Totally. We just have a relationship where we understand that's going to happen and we push through it. But it's been the most fun bunch of months, like having this kind of freedom. It's a learning curve of self-parenting, but
oh my gosh, yeah, that's such a good point. I feel like we can do a whole video on that in terms of like when you grow up, when you grow up, you start in kindergarten and you go through elementary school, junior high, high school, then college. For a lot of us, going through college, and then into the workforce, and you never have that like, whoa, I just have like space to figure out what I'm doing. We do obviously have the financial pressure behind us to make sure that we're not just like goofing off all the time. But I think at the end of the day, it's been a huge learning curve in terms of like self-parenting and saying like, okay, like it's not just about work hard, play hard. Sometimes you just have to get into it and just grit through when you want to go play or you want to do these things. So anyway, that's our story. I'm sure there's like a whole bunch of gaps in there that we've missed out, so feel free to ask us any questions on that. Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, kind of the message is, I don't know, if you have a dream, and even if it's like really small or quiet, like for me, I always dreamed of working with Kevin, even when we first met, and I would see other people working with their spouses, and I was extremely jealous about it. And I always tried to quiet that, like, no, like you're not an entrepreneur. This is not a, you weren't raised an entrepreneur. You didn't go to business school, et cetera, et cetera. I think that just quiet those lies, and if you have a dream, go after it. And yeah. Yeah,
we had no knowledge, so don't be scared. Get mentors. Yeah. We wish we would have had mentors earlier on, but beyond that, hey, if there's not too much to risk, like go ahead. Like we're in it, so. Yeah. We're signed up for whatever happens. If all else fails, we have to go get crappy jobs.
It's true.
But
it's
the
really
sky's
not the end of the
limit
world.
Other than that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. That's a little bit of our story, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yes.
Bye. Bye.